There's something you've been holding. Maybe you know exactly what it is. Maybe you've been telling yourself you've already let it go, that you're fine, that you've moved on, that you're not thinking about it anymore. But the grip is still there, not in your hands, in the way you check your phone, in the way your mind circles back to the same conversation at 2 a.m., in the way you rehearse what you'll say when it finally happens. That's not letting go. That's holding while pretending not to. And here's what's strange about that. The thing you want most, the relationship, the answer, the clarity, the version of your life that actually feels like yours, it almost always moves closer the moment you stop trying to pull it towards you. That's not a metaphor. That's not wishful thinking. It's one of the most consistently documented patterns across human experience, across traditions that had no contact with each other, across thousands of years of people arriving at the same realization. The moment the grip releases is the moment things move. Why does that happen? And more importantly, what does it actually feel like when it starts? Let's begin with what the grip actually costs you. When you're holding, really holding, something in your mind, your energy isn't moving. It's pooling. Everything flows toward that one point. What if it doesn't come? What if I do this wrong? What if I already missed my moment? The mind builds a wall around the desire and then wonders why nothing can get through. There's a frequency to wanting something desperately. It's tight. It's contracted. And whatever you want, whatever belongs in your life, can't match that frequency. It belongs to the version of you that's already at peace, not the version of you who's afraid it won't arrive. This is what most people miss. They think letting go means giving up, stopping caring, deciding it doesn't matter. It's the opposite. Letting go is the most energetically committed thing you can do, because it requires you to trust completely, not the outcome, not the timing, not the specific form it arrives in, but the quiet knowing that what belongs to you cannot miss you. That's not passive. That's a level of inner alignment that takes everything you have. Now let me show you what this actually looks like. Not as a concept, in real life. In the moments you recognize. She's been waiting for a message from him for 3 days. She's read their last conversation 17 times. She's analyzed every word, every pause, every response that came a little too fast or a little too slow. The phone is always face up. She's not sleeping well. There's a low hum of dread underneath everything she does. One afternoon, she gets tired. Not of him, of the waiting. She puts the phone in another room, goes for a walk, calls a friend about something completely unrelated, laughs about something stupid. For 2 hours, she's just herself again, not someone waiting for a signal. He writes when she gets home. Not because she played it right. Not because the universe rewarded her distance, but because something in her had unclenched. And she had become, for those 2 hours, the version of herself he was drawn to in the first place. The grip had been hiding her. Releasing it let her come back. It works the same way with money. She's been watching her account every morning. Every purchase goes through a filter of fear. Is this okay? Can I afford this? What if something goes wrong? The energy around money in her life is tight, anxious, contracted. Every decision comes from scarcity. She thinks about money constantly, and it never feels like enough. At some point, something shifts. Not because she gets more, because she gets tired of the fear. She stops checking the account daily. She starts making decisions from a different question. What do I actually want here? Not what am I afraid of losing? She starts doing the work she loves instead of the work that feels safest. Money starts moving. An opportunity appears that she almost missed because she'd been looking in the wrong direction. A conversation leads somewhere unexpected. The flow returns, not because the numbers changed, but because she stopped standing in her own way. The frequency of scarcity repels. The frequency of trust opens. And it happens with the life you've been trying to build. She's been working towards something for months. A project, a career shift, a door she keeps trying to push open. She applies, follows up, checks in, adjusts her approach, tries again. Every week she recalculates. Every rejection recalibrates the fear. One day, she decides she's done forcing it, not giving up, just done with the forcing. She turns her attention somewhere else, starts something new, begins living as though the thing she wanted was already handled and she was free to move. 3 weeks later, the door opens, not from nowhere. The groundwork she laid was real, but the energy she'd been pouring into pushing had been creating resistance. And the moment she withdrew it, the path cleared. What you force, you delay. What you trust, you accelerate. And then there's the one that's hardest to see, the inner state itself. She wants to feel okay, wants to feel peace, clarity, the sense that she's in the right place doing the right thing. She looks for it constantly, in meditation, in reassurance, in signs that she's on track. The search itself creates the distance. Every time she reaches for the feeling, it recedes slightly, like a word you can't quite remember that disappears the moment you try too hard. One ordinary Tuesday, she stops looking. Not because she decided to, because she forgot to look for a few hours. She made coffee, went outside, noticed the light doing something interesting through the trees. She wasn't seeking anything, and there it was. The feeling she'd been chasing. It had been there the whole time, under the search. You cannot find what you're desperately looking for. You can only create conditions where it finds you. So what is actually happening energetically when you hold versus when you release? Sustained tension around a desire lives in the body as a low-grade threat response. The nervous system doesn't distinguish between a physical danger and an emotional one. The fear that it won't happen reads like a predator at the edge of the clearing, and a body responding to threat contracts. Closes, pulls resources inward. That state is incompatible with receiving, not philosophically, in the body. A contracted system registers fewer possibilities. It filters out information that doesn't confirm the fear. It's in survival mode, and survival mode is not the state in which new things arrive. The moment you release, really release, something shifts physically. Breath deepens without you telling it to. The chest softens, peripheral awareness widens. The body stops scanning for what's missing and starts noticing what's already here. And what's already here is almost always more than you thought. Every tradition that has mapped human experience deeply arrived at this same place from a different direction. The Sufi poets called it fana, the dissolution of the self that was getting in the way. Not destruction, clearing. The ego releases its grip and something larger moves in. Taoism calls it wu wei, action through non-action, not doing nothing, doing without forcing, moving with the current instead of against it. Jung mapped it as the ego surrendering to the deeper current of the unconscious. The part of you that already knows where you're going, that has been carrying what you need all along, while the conscious mind argued with the timing. They arrived here separately. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern too consistent to be invented. Something in the structure of reality responds to release in a way it cannot respond to force. But there's something nobody tells you about what letting go actually feels like in the body. Not the idea of it, the actual moment. It doesn't feel like relief. Not at first. It feels like loss. There's a moment, sometimes brief, sometimes it lasts days, where releasing the grip feels like grieving, because part of you believed that holding was the thing keeping the possibility alive, that your vigilance was protective, that if you stopped watching, it would slip away. When you release that belief, the mind interprets it as surrender, as giving up, as proof that it was never going to happen. This is the threshold. Most people don't cross it. They feel that first wave of grief, that hollow, strange, almost nauseating feeling of an open hand. And they grip harder. They make a plan. They send the message. They try to force resolution. They call it being proactive. But something in them knows. The ones who stay with the loss feeling long enough, who let the grief move through without grabbing back, describe the same thing on the other side. Stillness. A strange warmth. Not the answer. Just the quiet knowing that the answer exists and is already finding its way. That feeling is not apathy. It's trust. And the difference between them is one of the most important distinctions you'll ever learn to make in your own body. Letting go is not a decision you make once. It's a practice, a daily returning to the open hand. Because the grip comes back, it always does. The mind is built to hold what it loves. That's not a flaw. That's devotion. But devotion doesn't require a closed fist. The most powerful holding is the kind that can release. What belongs to you knows how to find you. What's meant to arrive is already in motion. Your job is not to pull it closer. Your job is to stop standing in its way. You don't need to believe this fully to begin. You just need to be willing to loosen by 1 degree, by the width of one breath. Put the thing down for an hour. Not forever, just for an hour. And notice what happens in that hour. Not whether it arrives, but what else you start to see that was invisible while your hands were full. That's where the answer usually is. Not in the striving, not in the figuring out. In the moment the hand opens and the space you were filling with worry finally has room for what was always coming. Whatever you've been holding, it knows you. It's been finding its way. Just let go. If something in this landed, subscribe. There's more here. The kind of knowing that doesn't come from searching, but from finally getting quiet enough to hear what was always there. And I want to ask you one thing. Which area of your life are you holding tightest right now? Relationships, money, your work, or the feeling of peace itself?